Welcome to episode 112 of the Charm City Birdwatch podcast, and I think it's safe to say that the Baltimore Orioles are going to the World Series in 2020. Sports are back. I couldn't be more excited. I feel like my life has meaning for the first time in months. I was so excited on Friday when the Orioles got underway. Obviously, we know Friday didn't go that well, but since then, Saturday they got the win. We are recording this on Sunday. They are in the middle of their game right now, the rubber match against the Red Sox, and we will be giving some updates on that. I mean, it's not like we're live right now, so people aren't looking to us for scoring updates, but we will be. If something notable happens, we'll be talking about it because we'll be talking about this Red Sox series as a whole, who's been, hot out of the gate, who's maybe a little slow out of the gate, stuff like that. NFL-wise, we have plenty to talk about. The Players Association and the league seem to work things out very quickly after some social media back and forth last weekend. It looked like things might be heading in the direction that we saw with baseball. Some bickering between both sides, but they quickly resolved that. And so we'll get into that, what's kind of going to be different for the 2020 season. And the Ravens, top 25 games of all time. As the Ravens continue to celebrate their 25th anniversary, they're doing more and more of this. We had the all-time team vote a couple weeks ago. Now we have a ranking of the 25 best games in franchise history. I don't think there's any huge snubs here like we might have saw with the all-time team or anything egregious, because the top five is probably pretty much consensus, but we might have a couple games that we think got left off, or games that were very important to us that got left off, so we'll bring that up, and plenty of other stuff to fill in as well, baseball, football, whatnot. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. The Orioles, they are 1-1 as we speak. As I said, I mean, I could not be more excited. I've got the Orioles game on my computer right now. I've got Yankees and Nationals on the TV. Hopefully the Nationals can kick their ass again today, and they'll walk out of this first series. The Yankees will with a series loss. We'll see. But right now, as we speak, I think every team in the AL East is 1-1. And I mean, look, we won't ignore what happened on Friday. We're going to get into that first, but just before we get into the details, Ian, how excited are you? The fact that the Orioles were able to win, pretty convincingly yesterday. Alex Cobb pitched well. I mean, just how excited are you right now to have baseball back? I know the NBA is starting up later this week. They're playing exhibition games right now, but games that matter for the NBA start later this week. Hockey also on the horizon. It's a very exciting time.
Yeah, I mean, we've been waiting for this for 3-4 months, and I've been as skeptical as I think you should be to see how this is all going to play out, and so far relatively so good in baseball. Basketball hasn't really had any issues. There hasn't really been any big issues in hockey yet either, but yeah, I mean, having the Orioles back is great. Friday was tough, but I think at the end of the day, when you're almost a 3-1 underdog, you have to know that it's coming, but it was still kind of disheartening to see them get smacked around like that, but still great to have baseball back. And I was super excited for Alex Cobb. I think Alex Cobb's a good pitcher. I just think he just hasn't had the best go of it here in Baltimore so far. So I'm excited that he pitched well. I'm excited that they're 1-1, and they got out to an early 2-0 lead today. It's 2-1 now here in the top of the third, but I'm excited they're back. And, they're not, they had one game where they looked like a minor league team. They had one game where they looked pretty good. So I think they're going to be a roller coaster type team this season. I expect them to hit the ball pretty well all year, but the pitching staff is really kind of where this season's either going to go well or we're going to end up in another top 5 pick scenario. So I think that's the main group that's going to decide their season is the pitching staff. But I'm stoked they're back, and gives us something to watch pretty much every day, even now more than normal because they only have 6 days off. So I'm excited. hopefully they can keep playing well. And, Jose Iglesias is just raking, by the way. He just had another double. Looks like the O's are about to go ahead 3-1. Santander scores from first. So happy to see him get off to such a hot start as well.
Yeah, I mean, this has been, again, it's only 2 games. Right now we're in the middle of the 3rd game. If you remember back to last year, as bad of a season as 2019 was, I believe the Orioles took 2 of 3 from the Yankees in New York to open the season. So, they could do the same thing here, win this series against the Red Sox, and then just absolutely implode. But we've talked about it in the past with this being such a short season. We're all sick of hearing it at this point, how anything could happen in a short season. But it's true, because the math works out. It's not – I know some people have said every win is like winning 3 games in a regular 162-game season. The math works out to about 2.7. Which, still that carries a lot of weight. Not quite 3 games, but close. So, when the Orioles won that game yesterday, it's big. It carries more weight than your average win. With this being such a short season, if they win like 7 of their first 10, 6 or 7 of their first 10 games, it could spark the clubhouse. It could say to the clubhouse, like, well, hey, we're in this. Let's keep the momentum going. And now you've got guys showing up to the ballpark every day, even though they've got to take their temperature like 5 times or something ridiculous before they go in. They got to do the spit test. They're getting tested every day, the temperature checks, jumping through all these hoops for safety. They're showing up to the ballpark now with, an eagerness to play, despite all the stuff that's going on, all the stuff that's going on in the world, the pandemic and everything. If your guys are showing up to the ballpark every day, like eager to get out there and eager to play, excited, energized, feeling like they've got a shot to win every single night out there, no matter who they're playing, that's huge. And obviously, like you said, the pitching, though, the season's going to hinge on the pitching. We know they can put together a lineup that's going to score some runs. There's no big names in the lineup outside of Chris Davis, who's not necessarily a good hitter. No one's really that recognizable outside of Baltimore, but they can still put runs on the board. So I agree with you 100%. The season's going to hinge on the pitching staff, and let's get into it with the pitching staff on Friday. Tommy Milone gets the nod as a starter. His first time in his career he started on opening day, so pretty cool for him. But obviously,
there's a reason for that. The first time he ever started on opening day.
Yeah, I mean, with a long career like he's had, you think maybe he would have snuck in there maybe once or twice, but no, that was his first time. So, shout out to him for that. It obviously didn't go probably the way he wanted, only lasting 3 innings. But we all would have liked to have seen John Means out there. Hopefully he's coming back ASAP, honestly, because I saw a quote from him that said that he's good. Like, he's felt good for 4 or 5 days now. So I know you're not trying to throw off the rest of your rotation, but as soon as we can get this guy into the rotation, please give him a start. Like, he's clearly not only your best pitcher, but maybe the best player on the team. I mean, guys might emerge. Austin Hayes, we don't know what's going to happen, how the season's going to shake out, but I think it's a safe bet to say that John Means is probably the best player on the team right now. So we would have liked to have seen him, but we didn't get that, and things didn't go well for the Orioles. Tommy Milone, early on, looked decent, had a couple strikeouts, had a smooth pickoff play at first, looked like he might be able to get through some innings, and then the wheels fell off. Gave up a flurry of doubles in the 3rd inning, I believe, and it was just every single double. It felt like they all landed in the exact same spot.
I know, what's weird?
It was just the same exact swing, landed in the same patch of grass in left field every time, rolled all the way to the monster, and all these runs score. You got to take him out. You feel like he left after 3, so it was clean during an inning break. It's not like you had to switch in the middle of an inning. You bring in your first reliever, Cody Carroll, and he's starting fresh. And boy,
he was fresh.
I don't know when we're gonna see Cody Carroll next, But I mean, he's going to get another shot. You can't just, base your opinion off of one outing, but
Right.
that's about or the worst that it could get. I had this written down here for Cody Carroll. His outing, it went 2 walks, a single, and then another walk. Didn't record a single out, and then he got yanked. And now Travis Lakins, another guy who's just trying to get a shot here in the majors, he's thrown into the fire. There's no outs. He's getting thrown in, runners on base. He proceeds to give up some runs. A few get credited to Carroll, obviously. But now all of a sudden the Orioles are down 10 runs in the 4th inning, and the game's over. And all that energy, all that excitement of opening day is gone. And I'm sitting there at work, we're broadcasting the game at the Fan, and I'm sitting there saying, why couldn't this game have started at 6 or 6:30? It started at 7:30. Now I'm going to be here past midnight. This is ridiculous. I hate this. I hate baseball. Why did I want this to come back? Super overreaction, but I mean, Ian said it earlier. It was we knew this team was going to not be good. It's a safe bet to say that this team's going to be one of the worst in the league. But you'd like them to have a better showing than this on opening day.
People were getting super apocalyptic right away. Like, they might not win a game. They're going to struggle to win 5 games. Like, it was only 1 game. It was an ugly game, though. You're right. It was tough to get through.
And it was just embarrassing. It brought back like some of the worst memories of last year. And there were some highlights from last year that we talked about extensively, but there were some super, super low points last year that I don't want to ever remember again. And this one, I'm putting that up there with some of the worst moments of last year. You're down 10-0 after 4. Go on to let the Red Sox score, 13 on you on opening day? The Orioles obviously got a couple runs. Rio Ruiz with a home run. He followed that up with another home run today. Who had Rio Ruiz leading the team in homers after the first series? I didn't. He's batting cleanup today, for God's sake.
Right. He was batting like 8th on opening day. He's got him in the 4-hole today.
I've said enough here about Friday night. An absolute disaster. I want to get some of your thoughts. Obviously once it became a blowout, you start throwing in some of your guys that you're not. I don't know. David Hess got thrown in there. Guys.
When does the David Hess experience end? Like, this guy's not any good. It's okay. He's a nice guy. Like, he's got a good beard sometimes when he grows it out, but he's not any good. He can't pitch in the major leagues. I think he's proven that. I think that's what gets to be like ultra frustrating for Orioles fans is that, like, we know they're not good. We know they're going to struggle. It's a different thing entirely to be competitive and at least look like you belong in the major leagues. Like, I don't care if they lose a ton of games. They're going to, but I don't want to lose every game like that. And like you said, I mean, people got super pessimistic right away. Like, and I can't say I'm surprised by that because that's kind of human nature. But, I mean, it's just one loss. Like, I was saying that to my buddies I was watching the game with. I was like, as upsetting and disappointing as this is, like, each loss in baseball only counts once. Like, they're 0-1. They're what, the Orioles, Orioles account tweeted out after the game. The Orioles will finish the first night of the season 1 game out of first place. And, like, that was meant to get people to chuckle and laugh, but it's true. Like, it's not like 13-2 loss, like, oh, you're automatically 0-6. So I was excited to see them bounce back yesterday. That's probably the game that we'll head to next. But, I mean, to see them get out to an early lead like they did, I thought he pulled the hook a little early on Cobb, but it ended up working out. It almost didn't. I mean, Castro was in a jam there, and they pinch hit Bogarts, and he struck him out. So he kind of got hied off the hook a little bit for me. I would have been pretty frustrated if that didn't go as well as it did. So Saturday is definitely the better game so far, and Friday, unfortunately, those results like Friday are going to happen again. They're starting Asher Wojciechowski and Thomas Eshelman, and these guys aren't very good.
Yeah, any baseball is better than no baseball. And let's get off the bad news. Let's jump right to Saturday because this was nothing but fun from start to finish. The Orioles wasted absolutely no time getting back on track. And this is the thing about facing the Red Sox. We knew they had a good lineup. Great J.D. Martinez, Jackie Bradley Jr., Xander Bogaerts, Kevin Pillar's there now. I'm sick of seeing him in the AL East again, but they've got a really good lineup, and they can jump on you quickly. But their weakness is their pitching staff, just like the Orioles. And we know Chris Sale's out for the year, and when Nathan Eovaldi is your best pitcher in your staff, in your rotation, it's going to be a pretty bad pitching rotation overall. So, nothing against Eovaldi. He looked great on Friday, and he can pitch pretty well. He has pitched well against the Orioles in the past. But the rest of that rotation, there's going to be a drop-off, and we saw that on Saturday with Martin Perez as the starter for the Red Sox, and he did not fare as well as Eovaldi early on. He got tagged right away in the first inning. The top of the Orioles lineup jumped on him quick. Austin Hayes got on base. We know Hanser Alberto. He was swinging at the first pitch. He's getting on base. As crazy as 2020 has been, if there's something comforting and consistent, it's seeing Hanser Alberto come out swinging at the first pitch again this year. It looked like for a minute there they might miss out on an opportunity. They had runners at second and third with no outs. Looked like they might miss an opportunity to bring him home, but Renato Nunez came through with a clutch 2-out hit, and then the ball just got rolling from there, and the Orioles were up 5-0 before you knew it. And the biggest story from Saturday, Ian already mentioned it, was Alex Cobb. He had a very good start, and for a guy that just could not get anything going last year because of multiple injuries, didn't have a great year in 2018 either. I think he was banged up, dealing with some minor injuries there as well. We knew coming into 2020 that, he's healthy, and if he's healthy, we've seen what he can do with the Rays in the past. He's a good starter. He has been in this league. There's no reason why, if he's healthy, he couldn't put it all together this year. And it was just so good to see him go out there in his first start of the year and look comfortable, confident, have, maybe not all of his pitches, but most of them working for him early and often. And he was getting some strikeouts early, just hitting his spots, no issues with that. Good location, nothing really not to like. And then to go off of your point with Hyde pulling him maybe a little early, he got taken out at 78 pitches. It was right after he gave up the solo home run to Moreland, I believe, which was the only run that Alex Cobb gave up in 5 1/3 innings of work. A little quick, I agree with you, to pull him, but I think with his first start of the year, they're still ramping him up a little bit. If this was a month from now and he was pitching that well, he's definitely rolling into the 6th and maybe even the 7th. At the pace he was pitching at, and with that much of a lead, a 5-1 lead, Hyde's definitely gonna let him roll closer to 100, maybe even a little past 100 pitches.
And especially because you've got a rotation that's not great. Like, you'd like to save as many bullpen innings as you can, especially early. I just thought it was a quick hook, and it ended up working out. So I can't be that mad about it. But it was getting dicey there for a little bit.
Yeah, Paul Fry came in, and he had some issues. Didn't look the best, but he was quickly yanked. And then from there, I believe it was Miguel Castro.
Yeah, it was Castro. Big strikeout of Xander Bogaerts, who was pinch hitting, representing the tying run. When Castro, I sat him down on 3 pitches. I mean, Castro looked. Remember, 2 or 3 years ago, I think it was, Miguel Castro looked like he was going to be a fixture in the Orioles bullpen for years to come. And in the last 2 years, he hasn't been quite as good. So to see him get off to a good start with that, I mean, that's getting out a guy who's, one of the 20 or 30 best players in baseball. So it was a good day. Saturday was a lot of fun, I'll be honest.
I've been a big fan of Miguel Castro, and I feel like I have a bit of a soft spot for him. I don't feel like I blatantly ignored his shortcomings, especially last year. He had some really rough moments, but since he has been here and kind of burst onto the scene with the Orioles, I mean, prior to getting a shot with the O's, he never really pitched more than like 20 innings in the majors. I mean, he really got his big break here and a big chance to pitch with the O's, and I just feel like he's a type of guy that has got good fastball speed. He can locate it pretty well, but he just needs to be put in the right scenario. Like, I feel like last year he was sent out there on damage control. And again, with a bad pitching staff all around like the Orioles have, he's getting thrown out there in the 5th, 6th inning. Hey, Miguel, go clean up here. Give us like 2 innings because you can go kind of long. But if he was a guy on if he was in another bullpen on a competent team and you could send him out there for like the 7th inning, I think he'd be really good in that role. I'm not saying he's a back-end guy like a setup guy or a closer, but if you're just using him properly and actually just sending him out there to pitch 1 inning and not throwing him into the fire constantly, I think Miguel Castro could be a really good bullpen guy in Major League Baseball. But hopefully we'll get to see more of that this year. It wasn't just him that was excellent there in the bullpen on Saturday. Richard Blyer came in, got 5 outs on 25 pitches. That was really nice to see. And then Michael Givens closing it out. They brought him in for the last out of the 8th inning, and then he closed out the 9th. Not a save situation, but 4 outs for Michael Givens as well, who is going to have to be on point with Hunter Harvey out for the foreseeable future. He's having some arm stiffness, some dead arm issues, I think, a little similar to what John Means had. Hopefully he can come back soon because he's a guy I think could develop into a serious closer for the Orioles. But good to see Michael Givens holding it down for now because he's if he's not the closer, he can still come in to close things out if you need him to, and I think he'd be a pretty good 8th inning type of guy. So overall, good start for Cobb, pretty good effort by the bullpen as well, and just a great overall game. Offense was rolling, added on with a couple 2 runs late, and end up winning 7-2. So
yeah, two big insurance runs driven in by Santander after Boston cut it to 5-2. And one thing I wanted to point out about that game before we move on is 3 guys that the Orioles would probably like to trade in a month or 2 with good performances. Alex Cobb, to me, doesn't seem longed for this team. If he is, then fine. I can get on board with that. But a good start. He could be flipped at the deadline in a month or 2. Same with Michael Givens, who's been rumored to be moved for years. And Castro has some value, too, if he can perform well in what's going to be a short amount of games before the deadline. But there's teams that would give up something for Miguel Castro, Michael Givens, and Alex Cobb. So for a team that doesn't figure to compete, it makes a ton of sense it's a good thing to see those guys perform well. And just a quick score update: the Orioles just went ahead 4-1 on a sac fly by Austin Hayes. So it's 4-1, top 4, 2 outs and a man on third. So just to kind of keep everybody involved in that.
Well, I'm telling you, 4-1 here. They're on their way to getting a series win here. And our next topic is going to be the expanded playoffs. So while we're on the subject, the Orioles are going to the postseason, right, Ian?
Yes, obviously. I mean, they got a chance to be tied for first place after today. So
had speculation of this during the negotiations between the Players Association and the owners. It ended up not coming to fruition, but now after it's opening night that this news breaks during the rain delay, or maybe it was earlier in the day, but I remember them talking about it during the rain delay of the Nationals and Yankees opener, and they had Rob Manfred on to talk about this. But expanded playoffs are going to be here in 2020. Oddly enough, they waited right up until the start of the season to get that going, and the format is going to go like this. If you haven't heard, 16 teams overall, 8 from each league. And unlike in years past, there will be no wild card sudden death matchup between the wild card teams. We now have every team, all 8 teams in each league, will be playing right away in the wild card round. And it will be the wild card series is what it's going to be called. And it's going to be a best of 3 series. All the games will be played at the higher seed's home ballpark. And the matchups will be obviously 1 seed versus 8, 2 versus 7, so on and so on. This is really interesting. The rest of the playoffs are normal. Once you get to the divisional round, it's best of 5. championship and World Series best of 7, business as usual there. But to eliminate that sudden death game, I think if you were a prospective wild card team like maybe the Tampa, the Rays, they got a good shot to compete for the division. But any prospective wild card team, any that you can think of, they've got to be excited because now they've got that pressure of the 1 game sudden death off of the table. But if I'm a team like the Yankees or the Dodgers, I don't like this at all. Not only do you not get that round off, or not only do you not get the off days to rest up a little bit, but it's a 3-game series. And I don't care who you're playing. If you're playing the number 8 seed, which could end up being in the American League to face the Yankees, I don't know who it could be.
The Orioles, totally.
Not the Orioles. The point is, it doesn't matter who that 8 seed is. I don't think if you're the Yankees after what could be a dominating regular season where they win 40 to 45 out of 60 games, maybe even more if they really get rolling. Same thing for the Dodgers. I don't want to play anyone in a 3-game season to start the postseason. I mean, that's a 3-game series. I mean, anything. I mean, a 1-game sudden death game is crazy, obviously, way more crazy than this, but there's not a lot of margin for error in a 3-game series either. So if I'm the Yankees or the Dodgers or even one of those other elite teams that's in the American or National League, I don't like this one bit. It's nice for us as Orioles fans because we can sit here and joke and maybe even hope and pray that the Orioles somehow finagle their way into the 8 seed. But if the Orioles were good this year or we were fans of a contender, I would not be enjoying this one bit.
I like the expanded playoffs idea as a rule. I also think I saw somebody tweet this, and I thought this was funny. They were saying they should just reveal the rules like 2 hours before the season starts every year and change them every year. That would be really funny. But no, I think for the top contenders, it's not the best look to have to play these types of series. But I mean, all 3 games are at home, which doesn't really matter at this point. I don't know. For me, baseball is kind of boring and nothing really like super excites me. So seeing them kind of toy with the playoffs and change things up and make things more competitive makes sense to me. I think I agree with you. I think if I was a Yankees or a Dodgers fan, I wouldn't be super stoked about it. Plus, think about it as a Dodgers fan. If the Nationals, they've got Soto out, Strasburg out, if they kind of limp along and they end up finishing 8th, but everybody's healthy when the playoffs come, do you want to play against the Nationals when they can run out Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin in a 3-game series? I mean, that's scary to me. Any of these teams with 3 great pitchers that might not have the best rest of us kind of past would be scary in a 3-game format. So I'm with you on that. We joke about the Orioles kind of getting there, but I wouldn't want to play one of these elite teams that maybe kind of has some injuries or some COVID struggles and ends up sneaking into the playoffs. I wouldn't want to run into them in a 3-game set.
Well, we are going to continue with the new rules here. We're going to talk about the new extra inning rules. We've seen them get put into practice, but Anthony Santander just homered. Chance Sisco scoring. Orioles are up 6-1 on the Red Sox in the top of the 4th. The hits just keep coming, man. Santander joining the party.
And they just chase that bum Ryan Weber, man. This team can hit. We said it. Listen, we were like partially kidding, and I've admitted I was, drinking the Kool-Aid and kind of just clowning around a little bit, but I expect this team to hit. And if they're able to pitch, like I said, in the 60-game format, just saying, don't let him get hot. That's all
Absolutely.
I'm saying.
So, yeah, good to see Santander get his first homer of the season. I know we're both really big on him. So, as I said, let's talk about the new extra inning rules because we are just 3 games into the 2020 season, but we have already seen 2 games go to extras. I think at least 2. I might have missed the news on a couple other ones, but First one came on Friday. Very first game of the season for the Angels and the Oakland A's. They went at it on a late 10 o'clock Eastern time start on Friday night. So if you missed this one, I don't blame you because, again, it went to extra innings. This was at like 1 in the morning, East Coast time. But I caught the end of this game when I came home from work on Friday, and I was excited to see this extra innings so soon into the season. And I wanted to bring it up because when we heard that every team, every half inning you're going to start with a runner on second base, how is this going to work? What's the strategy going to be? Would you just automatically bunt them over and go for the sac fly? Would you swing away? Does it depend who's at the plate, who's running? What kind of variables are there going to be? And I was stunned to see that neither the Angels were the road team, so they started. They were hitting in the top of the 10th. They did not bunt their runner over. I believe it was Ohtani was the runner on second. They didn't bunt him over, and they failed to get a run across. And now they gave the A's, the home team, a chance for an easy walk-off. And then I was stunned to see that the A's, in a tie game, the Angels didn't score at all in the top of the 10th. All you need is one run, and the game ends right there. It's a walk-off. They didn't bunt him over either. So I got to be honest, I was extremely surprised by that. Yeah, Ramon Laureano and Matt Chapman were the two batters up first for the A's there in the bottom of the 10th, and both of them were swinging away. And had it not been for a wild pitch, like I said, it wouldn't have allowed that runner to advance to third for a sac fly situation. In the end, didn't need a sac fly to win. Ultimately, Matt Olson came up to the plate and took the first pitch he saw deep for a walk-off grand slam. So that was an exciting moment. But I don't know what your thoughts on this are, but to see just both teams not even interested at all at bunting the runner over, to get a runner at third with one out and go for the sac fly strategy. I can understand the Angels because you're batting first in the inning in the top, but for the A's, especially after the Angels didn't get any runs at all, I feel like that was just an easy win waiting for them, and they took the hard route. More exciting finish with a grand slam than a sac fly, but I feel like they made it a little too hard on themselves, and they could have just bunted him over for one of their power hitters like Olson or Chapman to just hit a deep ball into the outfield.
Yeah, I feel like these teams, like maybe it's harder to bunt than we give it credit for being, because I was talking about this with my buddies the other night too. Like these big power hitters that they shift for all the time, you rarely see these guys lay down bunts to third base when they look like they would be easy walk in the park base hits. Nobody's even on that side of the infield a lot of the times when they do the shift. So maybe it's just a lot harder than we think it is to drop down an effective bunt and move a runner over or reach base in the shifts case. But yeah, I mean, there has to be a reason why it's not happening. It looks simple enough to us, like, hey, let's get the guy over to third base with one out and see if we can drive one to the outfield and win this game. But like you said, I mean, there's got to be a reason they're not doing it. So I think maybe you and I might just be underestimating how difficult it is to lay down a good bunt. I don't know. It makes some sense for me if you're at a certain part of your lineup to decide not to do it that way. But I'm with you. I think I would be looking to manufacture that run if I could.
Right, and I don't deny that laying down a bunt is difficult. I think if it was easy, we'd see it more often. But you're not bunting to get on base. You're just bunting for a sacrifice. You don't even have to lay down that good of a bunt. You just have to lay down one that stays in play, or one that actually hits the ground. You don't pop it up to the pitcher or the catcher or something. Still, not the easiest thing in the world. If I was standing at the plate trying to bunt, a 96 mile per hour fastball, I don't think I'd be able to do it, or I wouldn't be able to do it without injuring myself either. I'd probably take one off the knuckles or something. But these guys are professional baseball players. If you're,
but they don't do it. Like I'm with you.
Yeah. My whole point is if you're a major league player and you don't know how to properly lay down a bunt, there's something wrong there. I know we've moved on from that in the modern day strategy of baseball, and small ball has kind of been phased out, but I feel like every major league hitter should know how to bunt in some capacity. Let's move on to football, because speaking of what I just mentioned there, the negotiations between the Players Association and the owners in baseball, we saw this with the NFLPA and the NFL league executives, Goodell, all those people. Last week, players were simultaneously tweeting. It was this coordinated tweet storm of the league's best players all saying we need better health protocols in place for the 2020 season. I'm not going to play. I don't feel comfortable playing without proper health protocols, proper safety protocols. And I don't blame them. That's neither here nor there. But the big thing that I took away from that was, what kind of chance does this have of snowballing into something that we saw with baseball? Personally, I thought there was no way that was going to happen. We've been saying this since the pandemic has been in place, that the NFL will try harder and do anything they can, more than any other professional sports league, to play in 2020. And now obviously baseball is underway, basketball is going to play, hockey's going to play, so that it's not like the NFL is going to be the only one playing. But we know that they're not going to leave the money on the table, so to speak. There's more money for them, the TV contracts and all that. They're going to do everything they can to have a season in 2020. So it was not surprising to me that less than 24 hours after that coordinated tweet storm by the top players in the league, the NFL immediately came out and said, yep, we'll get rid of the preseason. No questions asked. Is that what you guys want? It's gone. No preseason. And we'll also implement daily testing for the coronavirus, other health and safety protocols that you want. It's in place. We're getting it going because, as we know, training camp is supposed to start on time here later this month. Earlier this week, I believe rookies reported. So the rookies were in the castle, were in the Ravens facility. Around the league, rookies were reporting to their respective camps, and the rest of the team will follow here shortly. In the coming days, I believe the 28th is when everyone will report by. So if that was going to happen and that was going to be realistic, proper health and safety protocols were going to have to be in place. So again, I don't blame the players for being vocal about that, but not surprised at all to see the NFL execs immediately bend the knee and appeal and cater to the players' wishes, because they just want to get a season played here. They don't want to dispute. They don't want to fight at all. And that's good. That's good for the fans.
Look how much money they're going to be losing on the gate and stuff like that. I mean, they need to make sure that they're doing everything they can to get things underway on time. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. But I don't know. I feel like this is there's really not much to say about that in particular, because again, it wasn't that surprising to me. I knew the NFL was going to do whatever they could do to get the season to start on time, and they weren't going to give the players too much pushback. So we'll just see how it goes from here. Obviously, the big question mark right now is, can training camp operate as usual, or at least semi-close to what we're used to? I've been saying it time and time again on this podcast that the NFL it's not like baseball. It's not like basketball. You can't have the bubble environment. It's not an inherently social distance sport like baseball. These guys are getting in each other's face on every single play, the linemen, that is, and you're tackling guys on every single play. You got to get it right, but at the same time, like, you got to let them play. Like, you either let them play or you don't. Let's not waste any more time. I've already made it myself perfectly redundant with this, but that's just the honest truth with this. Like, there's no way to play football socially distant. There's no way to alter the rules of football to make this proper. All this garbage about, Oakley is developing, a built-in mask into the NFL helmet So that's not going to do anything. Just
their hands are all over each other
right.
every play. It's
right.
not going to
There's
matter.
sweat and spit flying everywhere between those linemen. It's just, you can't avoid it. So at the end of the day, if that's not going to work and we can't get a season played under those normal conditions, then don't play. I don't want it to come to that, but there's no way around it. There's no way we can change the game of football to make this work for the coronavirus. So we're either going to play or we're not, and we are days away, as I said, from, teams being reported in full here to their facilities. So we'll see what happens, but right now it's just a waiting game with the NFL, and they're getting the wheels in motion. It's exciting, because we all love football so much, but the question marks are very much still there.
Yeah, it's good to see them kind of work through their problems. I think you and I were both on the same page that it wouldn't be a dispute, a labor dispute, or a rules dispute that would keep them from playing. So I think we're both on the same page as not being surprised to see that. Ravens got all their draft picks signed and into camp, rookies last week, as you said. So that was good to see as well. They had Devin Duvernay and Patrick Queen were the last two to kind of get there to get signed, and that was good to see the Orioles pull that off. So now we just wait and see kind of how training camp goes. It's disappointing that there will be no preseason games. I know they don't mean a lot to fans and they can be kind of boring and inconsequential, but there's a lot of guys that need those preseason games to make the roster, and the Ravens have that streak of undrafted players that are making the team, and I think that's in jeopardy big time this year. So definitely great to have the NFL hopefully coming back here pretty soon, and we're getting there, Nolan. Like I said, I'm trying not to enjoy it too much, but the NBA bubble started their exhibition games, and baseball's back, and football's on the horizon. So it's good to see things kind of going smoothly, and hopefully it keeps up. I'm stoked sports are back. My wife is not. So, but it's been a ton of fun so far, and the rest of the Ravens team will report later this week, and training camp practices will get underway. So, hopefully the waters remain calm, and we're only 50 days out from the regular season opener for the Ravens. So, pretty crazy to think that it's that close. I think there was a time that it felt forever away and that we were never going to get back to this point. So I'm happy about it. Hopefully the Ravens stay healthy through all of this COVID and injury wise. So but we're getting there. We're almost there.
Right. And you really raised a good point there. I know we've mentioned it in the past on the podcast, but I did want to, it's important to touch on it again here with the elimination of the preseason, that not just with the Ravens, because we know they have this streak going of having an undrafted rookie free agent make the team, but around the league, just so many guys that either undrafted guys or, 6th and 7th rounders who you would think are going to make the team, at least in their rookie year. If they were drafted by the team, you think they're at least safe enough to make the team unless they really screw up in training camp in the preseason. But so many guys just aren't going to get an opportunity in 2020, and it's not like it's going to be waiting for them in 2021. A whole new crop, a whole new batch of rookies and undrafted rookie free agents are going to come in next year. And there's no reason to go back and look at the guys from 2020 again. For the most part, you're not going to find a guy there that's going to be a Hall of Famer or anything. You might find a guy that you would have liked to have had on your team as a special teams player or something, but there's no incentive to go back and look at the guys from 2020 when you've got this whole new group of guys in 2021. So I don't know, you feel bad. It's the same way I feel for minor league baseball players this year, just not having the opportunity at all to play, because that's an opportunity that I don't think is going to come back to them. So
right, and it's not like I was just thinking about Justin Tucker and how he was undrafted. It's not like kickers where hey, what you see in practice and what you see in training camp is basically what you're going to see in the games. The other guys, there's a lot that goes into that. We're running this play. Well, everybody knows what play you're running and how it's supposed to be blocked and how you're supposed. it's harder for guys to stand out in those formats. So definitely a bummer for some of the undrafted guys. Definitely a bummer for the minor leaguers, as you said. It's just they picked the wrong time to come up, as unfair as that is. So.
And let's move on now. We got, I'll say this, news that has been a long time coming, and I am just so glad that it's finally here and we can stop talking about this, because, boy, did this get really annoying, especially being a Ravens fan, because this guy's name was linked to the Ravens more often than I think it should have been. But Jamal Adams is on the move, finally got the trade that he's been wishing for, has been pleading for forever. He's going to Seattle. And the Jets finally got rid of him. They don't have to deal with him mouthing off anymore. He was getting more and more vocal as time went on, getting really desperate for that trade, and he got his wish. So he's heading to Seattle, and in return, the Jets are getting 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a player. I think they're also sending a fourth-rounder with Adams to Seattle. So overall, this return here for the Jets is great. As time continued to move on here, and Adams continued to pop off and everything, it was becoming more and more, it was looking more and more like this was going to be a lose-lose situation for the Jets. The more Adams badmouths the team, badmouths your head coach, clearly wants out. If you can't find a trade,
he's a clown. I'm so glad he's not here.
But to think about this from the Jets front office perspective, and I don't have any sympathy for them. I think the Jets aren't a great run organization, obviously, but I don't want to say they got lucky, but they should be very relieved that they got this return for Adams, because more time that went on, it was clear that Adams probably would have sat out had he not been traded. And with that in mind, and there's the whole pandemic and everything, and we're so close to the start of the season, finding a trade partner probably wasn't that easy. And then on top of that, finding a trade partner that's willing to give you, 2 first-round picks, or, the return that you feel you deserve for a player of Adams' caliber probably wasn't that high either. So the Jets should be relieved. I mean, when they got this offer sent to them by Seattle, I'm sure there was a back and forth, some sort of negotiation. I doubt this was Seattle's first offer, but it is the end product. It is the final offer that gets accepted. And, yeah, if I'm the Jets, I am just smiling ear to ear after this. You got rid of a guy that was a nuisance, that wasn't going to play for you. You had no chance of re-signing him. Obviously, he's a great player, one of the best safeties in the league, but he just had no use to your team anymore because of the way he felt. And you had to trade him, and the fact that they traded him and didn't have to take any sort of compromise and settle for 1 first-rounder, or even worse than that, if it came to that, Jets got away here with a good deal, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Bradley McDougald's a good player. The player they got back, I mean, he's a starting caliber NFL safety. He's not Jamal Adams, but he's a good player. And to get 2 firsts and a third, and you just throw a fourth and Adams back, you get the headache out of the room as well. Like you said, I think this was a home run for the Jets. I think anytime that you can get multiple first-round picks for a player that has no interest in being there, I think that's a win-win. So you're right, though. I mean, it definitely looked bleak for them at the start, but I guess, if I were them, I'd be super stoked with what I ended up with for Jamal Adams. And, now the headache's gone from the building, and you can get focused on winning with the guys that want to be there. So I'm glad the Ravens ended up being out on this. If this was the price tag, I can't imagine the Ravens were even ever close. I know that there were links and people saying they were doing their homework and their due diligence, but if this is what it was going to cost to get Jamal Adams, I couldn't be more pleased to see the Ravens sit this one out. I didn't have a ton of interest in him anyways. Anytime you can add that kind of player, it's a plus, but I figured the price would be high. But even this felt like a gross overpayment for me if I was Seattle. It kind of looked like we're a one guy away type of move, and I don't see that for Seattle. I see a weaker offensive line and some other pieces of the defense that aren't that strong. So we'll see how it works out, but I think the Jets are better for having unloaded Adams, and we'll see what they can do with the picks that they got. And I personally think the Jets are going to be adequate, like a lot better than people think. So we'll see how it works out for them, but definitely glad the Ravens ended up sitting this one out.
Yeah, great overall move for the Jets, a team that's still trying to put all the pieces together, and what better way to put all the pieces together than getting an extra 2 extra first-round picks. I don't care if those end up being, between 20 and 32, because the Seattle is prospectively going to finish very well over the next 2 years. Those are still first-round picks in addition to your own. So the Jets are going to have a lot of draft capital to work with, and they could trade those picks. They can move them around. There's so many things you can do with draft picks. So the Jets have the opportunity to build around Sam Darnold, to build around an offense that, a younger offense, if you will. They got Le'Veon Bell.
And they got the great Rashad Perriman on offense too.
No more. Let's not. Nope. I can't bring his name up anymore on this podcast, because I feel like with Perriman, and you just mentioned that, so I'm gonna go off on this, but I feel like I log into Twitter every once in a while, and you see this post by like Pro Football Focus, and it's got some insane stat about Rashad Perriman and how, like, in the last year he's actually, if you think about it in this capacity, he's the best receiver in the league or something like that.
But yeah, best hands or like best separation percentage. Yeah, dude, he's been the last year or so. He's been. I mean, he was fantastic for Tampa at the end of last year. So, hey, listen, I'm happy it worked out for him. I'm upset it didn't happen for him here, but I had nothing but positive feelings towards the guy.
So yeah, we'll move off of the Jets here. Let's talk about the Ravens, and let's talk about some Ravens history. Because the Ravens, as I said at the top of the show, as they continue to celebrate their 25th anniversary, they have rolled out this really cool list of the top 25 games in franchise history. They put together this really cool video that's on YouTube, on the Ravens website and everything, going through all 25 games. They had a panel of guys affiliated with the Ravens, Jerry Sandusky and Scott Garceau being the two voices of the Ravens on the radio were a part of that. Kevin Byrne, guys from the Ravens website, Garrett Downing, Ryan Mink, just a great panel of people to talk about all of these games, whether it's past or recent history. And I'm not going to go through the top 25. I'm sure most people listening have already seen this, but I will go through the top 5 because that's kind of, that's noteworthy. What were the 5 best games in franchise history? And it starts at number 5 with the first Super Bowl. The 2000 Super Bowl, the Ravens beat the Giants 34-7. That comes in at number 5. Number 4 was a game from that playoff run, the divisional round, when they beat the Titans 24-10 on the road. That was, I believe, that was the game that Ray picked off to seal the game, stole the ball away from Eddie George. So that was obviously a big moment there, beating a really good Titans team. Moving to the top 3, all 3 of these games in the top 3 were from the 2012 Super Bowl run. At number 3, you have their win over the Patriots, 28-13, avenging the loss the year before in the AFC Championship game. The Super Bowl comes in at number 2, 34-31 over the 49ers. The blackout game got out to a huge lead. Then the lights went out. The 49ers come back, and the Ravens hold on with a defensive stand at the end. We all know the story. And then obviously, I'm sure if you haven't guessed it already, number 1, the Mile High Miracle, 38-35 double overtime win over the Denver Broncos in just a blistering cold game. Joe Flacco, great game, part of a great playoff run, and the quintessential play in Ravens history, the Mile High Miracle, finding Jacoby Jones behind Raheem Moore for that touchdown. So I think no surprises there for the top 5. But as you go throughout this list of 25 games, I think as a whole, it's a pretty good collection of 25 games. I don't know. I was trying to think of some games that got left out that I might have included, and I don't know. I'm thinking maybe either of the Thanksgiving games. Might have put those in there, either the one over the 49ers or the one over the Steelers. I might have, those might have been close for me. And I believe there was another game that I'm blanking on right now, but a good mix of games here from all throughout Ravens history. If there was any games that I think are rated a little high here, they have the 2012 game against the Chargers, the infamous play, the 4th and 29, the check down that Ray Rice converted. That came in at number 11. And besides that 4th and 29 play, that game really isn't that significant.
I do think the top 5 is probably fair. I've had a lot of conversations over the past few weeks about what makes a game a top 5 game in franchise history. Is it the size of the moment? It's hard to rank regular season games that high because they have a little bit less value. It's hard for me to see the first Super Bowl ranking 5th, if I'm honest. Like, that feels like that should be closer to the top to me. The 28-13 game against the Pats was great, but the Ravens won the Super Bowl in one of those games. Does the margin of victory matter? A lot of people have been kind of going back and forth on that. I have no real gripes with it either way. I don't think it matters a ton to nitpick it, but there were some moments that missed the cut altogether. Like the Chargers game, I think it was 2006 when Todd Heap ran over Sean Merriman at the goal line with like 12 or 30 seconds left, something like that. That one probably should have been on the list for a lot of people. And a lot of people put a good bit of importance on any Ravens-Steelers win. So I think some of those games people argued should have been ranked higher than they were, or found the list in general. But overall, the list made a ton of sense to me. I probably would have had the Super Bowl over the Mile High Miracle. I know that that's probably unpopular because without the Mile High Miracle, you don't get to the Super Bowl. But it is what it is. Like I said, it's not worth getting worked up about. But it was a cool list. They've done a lot of cool things with the 25th anniversary season coming up. I'm not sure what other moment or lists that they have coming, but it should be exciting to see kind of what else they do from here from a top 25 perspective. But I thought the list made sense and no real overall gripes.
Yeah, another one here that I guess New England was really good that year, 2009, the 2009 season, and then this was the wild card round that year where the Ravens went in there and won 33-14. I mean, yeah, you beat up on what was a good New England team, but that comes in at number 6 on this list. I remember, obviously, Ray Rice taking that huge first play to the house. That was like a huge spark. And then the defense was absolutely stellar in that game. I think Ed Reed had a pair of picks. But number 6, that seems like really high there.
Right. It's a New England win. It's a playoff win. So people put a lot of more weight behind that than they probably should. Like for me, if I'm talking about the greatest games in franchise history, I mean, the game in 2000 against the Jaguars, 39-38 with like 5 lead changes late, or that Vikings snow game, even in 2013 when the Ravens weren't good, like those were great games. Super exciting, back and forth. The element of snow in the Vikings game. I started a project for one of the other sites that I write for, and I never got around finishing it because, the pandemic and work gets the best of you sometimes. But I had that Vikings game in the top 10. I don't know if it made the top 10 of this list, but I think it was one of the best games in franchise history. It's super, super exciting and kept the Ravens in the playoff race that year, even though they ended up coming up short.
Yeah, I definitely would have had that one higher, too. That was probably one of my favorite games that I've been to. It's at number 23 on this list.
Yeah, that's way too high for me.
Definitely would have had that one higher because, again, the last 2 minutes of that game, or last 2 minutes of game time, we had the back and forth. Toby Gerhart had a long run. Cordero Patterson caught like a short pass and took it to the house. Jacoby Jones with it was like a pooch kick off of the kickoff, and he took that down the sideline to the house. And then the grand finale, Flacco finding who was that? Marlon Brown in the back of the end zone. My God, with the toe tap in the snow. Yeah, that's got to be way higher than 23 for sure. Yeah, overall, like I said, good list here. Definitely check out the video. go back and watch some of these games in full. I went back and watched the 2014 wild card win over the Steelers. That was fun to relive that one, and the 2012 week 2 or week 3, the win over the Patriots with the replacement refs and Torrey Smith playing after the death of his brother, caught 2 touchdowns. Justin Tucker hits the game winner, just barely sneaks it inside the upright. That was a classic game and really fun to watch.
And Belichick and Wilfork were furious that they counted that field goal too. That was also a high point for me of that game.
So we'll leave it at that. As we speak here, we'll wrap things up. The Orioles in the top of the 6th are still leading. The Red Sox, they're up 6-2. Anthony Santander had the home run. Rio Ruiz had a home run. Kevin Pillar had a solo home run to make it 6-2. Wade LeBlanc.
Santander, great play in the outfield as well.
Okay, shout-outs to him. Wade LeBlanc, I think he's still in the game. He might be coming back out in the bottom of the 6th. I don't know. He's only at 68 pitches through 5, giving up 2 earned runs. He's got 4 strikeouts, so let him keep rolling by all means. Wade LeBlanc, see if he can hold down a spot in the rotation.
And just a quick Hyun-Soo Kim update.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
He's hitting .343, on-base percentage of .393, 13 home runs, 59 RBIs. The LG Twins are on a little 3 or 4 game win streak. They've been struggling, but not because of Hyun-Soo Kim. He's been continuing to dominate the league. 964 OPS. The guy's a hitting machine. And the only thing that could make this Orioles season better was that they could somehow find a way to bring Hyun-Soo Kim back.
It's going to be probably another Orioles-heavy podcast next week. But, of course, as we mentioned, the Ravens are going to be reporting the entire team later this week, so we'll see if anything happens there. What is training camp going to look like in 2020? I think we'll have more answers by next week's podcast. But we will talk to you then. Thanks for listening.